Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our exhibition game for May's Game Night, Indie Plus Game Night. Tonight we are playing Swords Without Master by Epidiah, who's here running a game for us. Before we get started, we need to make clear that this event upholds the Indie Plus community standards. If you wish to know more about the Indie Plus community standards, just Google for Indie Plus community standards, and we're the first link, surprisingly. Just a heads up, this program will contain descriptions of violence, though we're tending towards the sort of heroic fantasy violence rather than the really nasty stuff. We will be avoiding sexual violence, we'll be avoiding gender and race issues, but there will be swearing, probably from the offset, so you have been warned. Okay, right, I'll just get everybody to introduce themselves and then I'll hand over to Epi. So I'm going to start with you, Brendan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Brendan. And I love swords and also sorcery, and I'm super excited.
Thank you, Brendan. And Epi, and yourself?
I'm Epi. I wrote Swords Without Master, which is why I'm running it right now, I guess. And I too enjoy both swords and sorcery, usually together, like a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Apart, they just don't do the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, Rich, who's unfortunately stuck on his phone. Let's introduce yourself.
Hello, Internet peoples. I am Rich from Indie Plus. I'm also part of the Canon Puncture Show and This Imaginary Life because I like to talk and be recorded, but not on my phone. I am sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm here, and Swords and Sorcery, they're all right. I'm excited.
Thank you, Rich. And they say Americans can't do sarcasm. Right, okay, and finally myself. I'm Chris Tregenza. I run 66, I make games, and I also help run Indie Plus. Right, that's it for the formalities. Let's get on with the game. So, Epi, what are we going to do?
All right. Well, I think we're going to start by making some characters. So, as we've already hinted, Swords Without Master is a sword and sorcery game. Sort of in the vein of if people aren't familiar with sword and sorcery too much, it's like Conan or Elric or Fafhrd and Grey Mouser. And if you're not too familiar with sword and sorcery, you probably only recognize the name Conan from all that, so that didn't help that much. But so we're going to start by making rogues, and rogues are they're the characters, the heroes of our stories, but they're not rogues in the D&D sense. They're not heroes in like the ethical sense. They're rogues in the more classic definition, which is just somebody who lives outside of society, somebody who does not own land and is not visibly employed, which usually means that they're up to no good. And they're heroes in the classic sense in that they're able to do great deeds, not necessarily the morality. They may in fact be moral individuals, but we're more concerned with the fact that they can do mighty things with their thews and their intellects and their prowess and all those great words. So to create rogues in this, you're going to need four things. The first you'll need is what I like to call either an eidolon or simulacrum, and that is something of our world, something that exists that reminds you of your rogue. And I have provided a link to a Pinterest page of just a whole bunch of awesome sword and sorcery art that you can kind of go through and pick out. And it can be something that is like a drawing of your rogue. It can be something that's a drawing of a place that your rogue has been. If we're playing a more like extensive game at home, I've done ones where everybody brings a drink from their rogue's homeland, and we share that, which is lovely. But it's something of our world that reminds you of your rogue. So I'll let you guys dig through that and figure out. And I highly encourage you to talk about who your characters are. We're going to assume that these are individuals that have been adventuring together for some time. They've saved each other's lives. They may not agree on everything, but they trust each other to some extent. This is not a terribly backstabby game.
should I start a new document for us to record this, or would you like to just do it on top of the stuff with the motifs, the mysteries, and the morals?
If you want to, we can put them actually down at the bottom of that page because we're going to want all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
That would have been something I should have done ahead of time. That's good.
No worries.
So, how much should we worry about what we're selecting? Do we need to be able to describe a lot about it?
I can tell you a little bit more. Yeah, so you're not going to have to... Okay, so the other things you'll need, let me tell you those. You'll also need to name all things that deserve a name, and that includes the name of your rogue. Anything that your rogue... like Fafhrd and Grey Mouse are named their weapons, and... or it could be like if you have a horse or a pterodactyl that you ride or something along those lines, you'll want to give that a name. And whatever you name in this case is something that's going to give you as a player a bit of narrative control. You'll be able to... it basically sits in the same zone as your rogue, and we'll find out what that means in a little bit. But it basically means that nobody else is going to be able to do things to it without your permission. But it also means that everyone, like me as the overplayer running it, I'm going to be looking to threaten it, to put it in a, to motivate your rogue. Not always, but that's. And then you're going to think about your rogues. So as we play the game, we're going to roll some dice, as you do in many role-playing games. But instead of rolling to see if you succeed in this game, we're going to roll to see the tone of your narration. The two tones are glum and jovial, and those are more broadly defined than the narrow being mopey and laughing out loud. Glum is anything that's cool or dark or introspective or but anyway, and jovial is anything that's bright or passionate or loud, and you're going to want to think of your rogues in these two tones. So when you're picking something, I highly recommend that you don't look and find like Elric McGlumgloom and decide to play like a very very glum, grim adventurer. You want to find balance between those two.
Damn it, that was the name I was going to choose. Damn it. Elric.
And yeah. In early playtests of the game, that was actually a distinct problem. You have a very, very emo character, and then you keep rolling jovial, and you're like, I can't even figure this out. I have no idea.
I'm not happy.
Yeah. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll give them a trick, which is like a little bit of a way to kind of break the rules of the game. And in doing so, we're going to define a little bit about the world. So, and I should talk a little bit about the world, because the world is up to us. We're making it up as we go along. But it is sword and sorcery, so we'd avoid things like elves and dwarves and sort of what came with Tolkien and went in to the fantasy genre. It's sword and sorcery tends to be extra industrial. It's either set in the ancient world or an equivalent or a medieval equivalent or some far-flung future post-apocalyptic, but it's, it tends to be outside of the more close range to where we are now.
Right.
People don't think the way we think. Lots of feudalism.
So is that the image you chose, Chris?
Yes.
Where's this?
I put it in the our chat column because I wasn't sure where Brendan was being organised.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I'm wondering if there's a way we can
share that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stick it in the comments of the thread.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. I'm bouncing between two of them, and I'm trying to figure out which one I want to pick, and that's painful. All right, because I really liked this one. And this one.
Oh, yeah.
Poop.
There's a star theme going on there, though. I like that.
All right. All right. Gamer decision-making process. I will flip.
Yes.
Here we go. All right. Heads is the top one. Tails is the bottom one. Okay. All right. Heads. Which was the top one? Oh, boom. All right. Got it.
There you go. Nice.
I'm good. Set. Okay.
Did we lose Rich?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. There's two of you down on the screen.
I don't know what Brendan was referring to. Were you on the Pinterest document?
Yes, I was. I sent links in the chat, but now the link for my character is at the bottom of the shared document we're using.
In the chat, like in the Hangout chat? Is that why
Yes.
I couldn't see
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Stop
All
doing that.
Sorry. All right.
So,
So yeah, the next thing you'd want to do if you have a Eidolon or Simulacrum is to name your rogue and name
Sure.
things that are of importance to your rogue. There's no limit aside from, I guess the heat death of the universe, something like that. But
I'm going to name the heat death of the universe, and he will do that.
there you go.
okay, name. Yeah, this is the bit I always struggle with. I can come up with massive histories of for characters,
Right.
but give them a name, not a how.
That's terrible. I can't do it.
And I mean, if you want to talk about like how your Eidolon relates to your rogue or what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a name that might just be a word as opposed to like more of a namey thing. But I'm not sold on it necessarily. I was thinking of like something that would represent traveling. So I flipped between like vagabond to sojourner, traveler, wanderer.
Yeah, Rover.
Rover.
But that's also a common dog name.
Yeah. We saw you for a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. We can see Rich.
We can see you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about. I chose that picture because I quite like, to represent something about the home world, something mystical about it.
Sure.
Ghosts walking up flooded stairways. That says sword and sorcery to me.
Yeah. I could. We can.
No, I've got a name. Yeah.
Oh, go for it.
Willow Leaf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Where are your pictures there, Chris?
His is also in the document that we have.
Oh, it's in the doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right at the bottom of the document.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
I like the random names Google Doc gives people. Particularly anonymous leopard. That whoever's got that one is.
That's the most dangerous kind of leopard.
Yes.
This is tough. All right, now I'm thinking about since this image. All right, so I'm looking at this image, and because anybody listening may not immediately have this image in front of them, it's showing a woman standing amidst all the kinds of like crazy brass machinery in the form of planets. It looks like probably what's that thing called?
Or
Yes, an aura. Thank you. it looks kind of like that, but huge and crazy, and she's wearing like a tool belt. So I'm thinking that maybe what's a word for a fixer or a maintainer, actually? I kind of love the idea now that struck my head that she was created by some cosmic entity intentionally to maintain some enormous mechanism that runs everything.
Wow.
I just can't. What would
Galactus.
was that?
Galactus.
Yes, that is my name. I am also purple. What would a name be for like someone who maintains stuff?
Engineer.
Sure, I'm just gonna go with that. I'm the engineer. I'm engineer.
Or the art.
It's
What was that one?
The Artificer.
Oh,
That
Artificer.
might be a little today, but kind of like the sound of it.
I kind of like that too.
and Artie makes a good nickname.
It does. I'm good with that. I'm Artificer, and my nickname's Artie.
yes, I think. Yes, I think my abbreviated name would be Will, not Willow.
Okay.
I don't want to be associated with a bad film.
Not Leafy.
No, that's a reason to kill you.
Do you have something, Rich?
Yes, I was about to throw it into the dock.
Sorry.
Cool.
It's okay. No, it's no problem.
Oh, that's good. That's an amazing picture. All right.
I love the picture. So it's a big, beefy, tusked, dusky-skinned, probably orc, but he doesn't have the pig nose. And I think I'll just go ahead and go with one of my favorite names ever. So Puck's a Pugnacious.
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm getting a kind of like a far past post-apocalyptic vibe, like
Yeah.
ancient civilizations that were really advanced that no longer exist, but you come across them like a dying Earth kind of thing, or some
Yeah,
bad
I like
barbarian. Cool. So I'm talking a little bit about the heroic feats, or the feats heroic.
Sure.
And these are what you want to do is you want to envision your character both in a glum situation and a jovial, or rather, I'm sorry, envision your character in a situation where their life is in peril, like they're being attacked by an army, or they're fending off some horrible beast or whatever, and you think of them reacting to it in a glum way, and then also in a jovial way. And this serves a couple purposes. One, it gets you thinking about the character in both tones. I like to say that it's sword and sorcery. You don't need a three-dimensional character, but you need at least a two-dimensional character.
Yeah.
And also, you'll be able to, if you want to, during the game, you can use one of these, and only one of these, to ignore a die roll and go with that result once. And this is a good point for me to just talk about. I've got the game open in front of me, so I'm just going to go through some of the things that could be encompassed by glum or jovial. This may help broaden our definition of it. Glum can be still, moody, muted, cool, introspective, understated, entangled, ensorcelled, sorrowful, lonely, melancholic, eerie, chilling, foreboding, beckoning, or strange. Jovial can be vibrant, passionate, cacophonous, hot, boastful, seized, spellbound, crowded, mirthful, terrifying, painful, clear, cheerful, welcoming, aggressive, or familiar. I like to think of it as another way to, if you think in terms of like soundtracks, the glum is the minor key part of the soundtrack, and the jovial is the major key, kind of thing. And so you're going to want to write just like one little line, or maybe 2 lines about your reaction in each of these tones. And the key to these tones, I should point out, is not to just remain entirely within them, but pick one thing that you find that very that represents what you want to do and hit it really. So you could say, in the middle of a giant cacophonous battle, my character is silent and moving with a steely precision, right? Like, so that sounds jovial, but it's actually you're glum because you're highlighting the quiet precision of your character.
That makes sense. Yep. Okay. I think I've got my glum one. Is something we keep to ourselves, or do we share it all around?
No, I think it's often best to share it around so that people can anticipate.
Okay, I've sort of riffed off my image a bit, and sort of putting together some sort of like supernatural sort of background. So my glum is that my fear, I fear for my soul. My soul will not be joining the Sisters of the Stairwell. So it's all about that fear that I won't be able to meet my ancestors or achieve my spiritual needs.
Excellent.
I just need to think of a jovial one now.
Yeah.
Could you run through you had those words you had for jovial?
Sure. Yeah, it's vibrant, passionate, cacophonous, hot, boastful, seized, spellbound, crowded, mirthful, terrified, or terrifying, painful, clear, cheerful, welcoming, aggressive, familiar. I've got like it's basically things that are loud or bright or passionate, that are outbursts or less introspective and more aggressive, I guess.
Yeah, I've written down two words for jovial: spectacular magic.
Oh, nice.
All right, hold on. So for my jovial, I've got surrounded by foes, I laugh as I produce a brass device from my tool belt that bursts into a flurrying razor-sharp metallic spider.
Oh, wow.
Nice. For glum, I'm just trying to figure out how to finish it. I've got with a frightened haste, I plunge a tool into a crack between worlds and adjust the always clock to quietly banish a creature from existence.
Wow. Excellent.
I'm not supposed to do that. P.S. I'm supposed to make it work, not fuck it up so that things go away.
That's good.
Yeah, okay. We should name our character and everything else that's important, right?
Right. So if you got something like a particular tool that's important, I mean, like the always clock is a great thing to have named.
Sure. That's a good point. The always clock. And all right, so I'm named the always clock, which is like the gigantic mechanism that's supposed to represent all of existence, and by messing with it I can mess with existence, but I'm really not supposed to do that by the gigantic entity that created me in the first place. And I'm also going to name I'll just call it the Ever Tool. Which is just the Ever Tool itself is my belt, which I can reach to, and I'll just pull out the tool I need for the moment.
Nice.
Yep. Well, I've sort of named the Sisters of the Stairwell, who are sort of like important culture and religious body or authority or something within my culture. And I want a gem of something. If you're a magic user, you're going to have a gem, glowing gem. A gem of...
yeah. You can just give it like a nonsense name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Completely random word. Yeah, Gem of the Jacobites.
Nice.
I have no idea what it is or what it does, but it has a name.
Nice.
So these are feats, like things, like actions that you do.
Yeah. So these are like they're yeah. Like I think the best way to think of them is in a reaction to something about to put your life in peril. You're able to use them whenever you roll the dice, and in this game it could be that like anything could actually be going on. So having them slightly you don't want when we use them, we're going to be a little bit more forgiving. Like if it's, for instance, if Brendan's character, opens up the always clock and there's no creature to banish from existence, but there's a horrible doomsday device to banish, that's fine. So it doesn't have to be an exact thing, but there are things that you are going to do, or a lot of times when people do it, they also like to put something like a way that they're going to suffer, like thinking towards their character's dramatic demise, if that's something that they want to see happen within the story. So, but it's definitely like looking at Puck the Pugnacious here. It could be. Oh, yeah. Actually, that's what I should mention. Is that this isn't necessarily something that you do every time. This is just something that you're going to do this. Possibly doing this once future time. Ooh.
Okay, so looking at his big mace, chain mace, perhaps that's an ancestral weapon that has, I don't know, when he spins it around about his head, it has the ability to draw upon the negative energies of some.
That's good, yeah.
Plane. And that could be his glum that it draws upon the life forces of all of his enemies.
Yeah, I like that.
Including his own, probably. And his jovial will probably be that he's extremely pleased in the bring about the damnation of those he faces, and quite boastful.
That's good.
Okay.
And
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to kind of go into the last bit here if we're ready for the tricks. In the book, I have like something like 16 different tricks, but what I'll do is I'll just for the sake of time assign one, because normally people just get to pick, and the only requirement is that you don't pick the same trick as somebody else you're playing with at that point. But there's some here that are easier to do the first time than others, so I'll just maybe just hand those out. And one of them is an inevitable foe. So if somebody wants to have an enemy that they can guarantee will fight that enemy, speak up and they can grab that one.
How enemy should it be?
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a somebody that's been hunting you. You could just say, "I want to fight a T-Rex at some point." So we're gonna.
That's awesome.
I'll write down a T-Rex, and then, yeah.
So the reason I ask is because I named Alcorian Wilds, who's the reason I ditched the always clock and came to the world itself to learn, to feel, to explore, to adventure. He's a scumbag thief, and I kind of love him. So it'd be awesome if I could like make him show up as somebody we have to contend with, as like an opponent, just not
So-
necessarily like I'm trying.
Okay, so
Yeah, sorry.
oh, no problem. So the inevitable foe, the technical way that rule works is that it's between phases. When we play this game, we're going to be in one phase or another.
Yep.
Between phases, you're going to say this next phase has to be a perilous phase, and the storm will be this guy, which means then I will actually come at you with him.
Right.
So if you want just to have him in there, you can do the I got another one. If you want to just do it's called adroit prowess, but it's basically something about your rogue. You write that down, and we'll start a rogue's phase, and I'll explain in a little bit what all these different phases do. And I will have to make a demand of you related to him, so you can actually write that demand down.
Sure. Do I get to dictate the demand in advance?
It says, well, no, I'll be able to do the exact demand, but you can say that it's related to him.
Okay, that sounds cool. That's good. I'm good with that.
So, does somebody want to do an inevitable foe? Or does somebody have a location that they want to make sure we visit?
I'm good with inevitable foe.
All right. So yeah, in that case, you just write something down that you want to make sure we will fight. And the way these tricks work is that they're here for us when the story, we don't necessarily have to use them. We'll use them if the story starts to stumble a bit. We're like, okay, it's time for that T-Rex. I don't care what's happening in the story. We're gonna have this T-Rex. Or if you want to say, all right, we haven't had enough screen time for my character yet, so let's make that happen. So the other two that I think are easy to start off with is the location. So if you have a location that you think we'd like to visit, or I'm trying to remember what I called it, the canny cognition, which is some pathway to knowledge that your rogue possesses, and you can say this next phase will be a discovery phase, and I will have a chance to show off how smart this character is, or that this character knows people that knows things, or that this character is really good at sniffing out this or that kind of thing. Do either of those appeal to you, Chris?
Yeah, that last one certainly does, yes. So what was that called again?
It's called canny cognition, but the main thing is that you want to write down some way that your rogue can know something, either through their connections, through actual knowledge and experience, or through sensory powers of some sort.
Oh, that's easy. It's got to be through the gem. If I've got a magic gem, it's got to do something. Gem of Jacobites. Yep. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. So right. Okay. I was just looking for the document. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been just scribbling things down on a piece of paper in front of me. I should have been putting them on the document.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, Epi, if you can you change the share properties? Actually, no, you can't, because I was going to say if you share it so that we can put it out, but that I would have to leave it open to edit, so I could still edit it. So no, don't worry about that. I'm just wibbling.
Yeah, I mean we can change those properties immediately afterwards if we want.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's just for the person who asked for a comment on the YouTube channel about the where we were putting stuff. I've just shared some links to the actual images we've used. So people,
we could probably share the document and rely on people not being jerks.
I'm good with that.
Okay, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Okay, I'll grab the link. Okay.
Hear that, people? Don't be jerks.
You're telling the internet not to be jerks, and
I'm trusting you, internet.
This is a scarier game. All of a sudden.
No pressure.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Did you
All right,
pick
so-
a? Did you pick an inevitable foe, Rich?
I have not.
Perhaps a T-Rex?
Not quite into dinosaurs you are, dude. And please don't say talking gorilla.
A talking squirrel?
Oh, here.
All right.
I can, while Rich is pondering that, I can talk a little bit about how the game's going to work.
Sure.
And get people. So all right. So this game, we're going to play it in phases, like I mentioned before. There are 3 phases that we'll use in this. There's the rules have a few more advanced phases, but right now all we needed 3. There's the perilous phase. In the perilous phase, the rogues' lives are always in danger. So they'll be. I'll be coming at you. I'm going to be the overplayer, and as we play the game, my power as the overplayer is I get to set up each phase, and I get to, in some of them, come after you. And in this case, in the perilous phase, that's what I'll do, is I'll have something that I will attack you with. And during the perilous phase, one of you will have dice. So if we were playing this at a table, we would have a single pair of dice that would be 2 different colors. Got examples right here. One would be our glum die, and the other would be our jovial die. And we would pass this pair of dice around. But since we're doing this online, and it would require the shipping costs alone would be insane, let alone the amount of time it would take. So we'll use this. We got this Dice Stream app, and I just roll 2 dice there, and we'll assume that the first die is the glum die and the second die is the jovial die. And in this case, I rolled a 2 and a 1, which means that my tone is glum. And if I'm doing this smart, I will also do this on the text. And let's do that. Look, I'm glum. If it's my tone, it's the overtone. And the overtone is everybody's tone until they get to roll the dice. In the perilous phase, I start off, I roll my overtone. I'll end up with, in this case, I end up with glum. And then I will say who I'm handing the dice to. And that person gets to hold on to the dice, and they roll whenever they want to interrupt me. And what will happen is I will start narrating horrible things that are happening because of this violence and the things that are attacking you. And you, as the rogues, are allowed to slip and struggle with that. You're allowed to fight with it, but you're not allowed to overcome or succumb to it, right? So if it's, I've got Ray Harryhausen style skeletons that are swords and shields attacking you, you could talk about putting your sword up and trying to hold them at bay, but slowly they're getting the upper hand on you, that sort of thing. You should keep your slipping and struggling narration kind of short. You're not at the center stage. Who's at the center stage is the person with the dice. And we'll just go until the person with the dice says they're going to roll the dice. And when they do, I stop my narration immediately, and whatever was happening pauses. And then they pick up their narration at that point using their tone, which may be different from the overtone. And they can continue to slip and struggle if they wish, but they can also overcome or succumb to whatever's happening. And that's up to them based on what they feel best serves the tone that they rolled on the dice. In the perilous phase, we'll keep doing that for a while. It's up to you guys in the perilous phase to decide when that phase is done. Whoever just rolled the dice and did something can say, I did this, and that is the end of the phase. And then we'll move on to the next phase. Another phase, I'll talk Another phase we'll do is called the discovery phase. The discovery phase is where we learn about the world through the experience and knowledge of your rogues through their senses. It'll be much like the perilous phase, only it won't have the storm. And I'll go over all of this as we're playing too, but it won't have the storm, so you won't have to be resisting something. And you will roll immediately. I'll hand the dice. I'll roll my overtone and then hand the dice to one of you. And you roll immediately, and you will make up something about the world that your rogue knows, that you may be sharing with the rest of the rogues, or you may be keeping it quiet, but we as players will know. This game is big on dramatic irony. If you want us to know something, let us know it. If you don't tell us it, then it's not real until it gets said out loud. So you could be like hinting that something's going to happen, and then somebody can grab that narrative and go something completely different with it, and you have no recourse because you never told us as players what was happening. During the discovery phase, you make up something about the world, and then you ask me as the overplayer a question about the thing that you made up, and I answer that truthfully, and that's something that your rogue will also know. And that gives me a chance to make sure that there's two people involved in this creation of this world stuff. And I, as the overplayer, decide when that phase is over, and I'm looking for things to kind of give us a direction to go in the story as we play. So that's how the discovery phase works. And then finally we have the rogues phase. In the rogues phase, I'll set it up again by rolling for my overtone, and then I'll hand the dice to one of you, and I will make a demand. And the demand will be like, show us how you sink the Admiral's fleet, or something like that. And then you roll the dice, and depending on the tone, you have to tell us how you sink the Admiral's fleet. And then once you've done that, you get to pick up the dice and make a demand of somebody else. And we'll kind of go through and do that. And again, we'll have to talk about who's handing dice to what or where. As we're playing out these phases, they don't have to happen in any particular order. Some phases may be very small, and some of them may be very long. And one phase can be followed by another phase of the same kind. We can go right from a perilous phase to a different perilous phase. That's perfectly fine. There's no problem there. As we're doing it, we're going to be creating what are called threads. And threads are the things that sort of tie this story together, and it brings us, make sure that we're all kind of telling the same thing. The dice will tell us when to make two different kinds of threads, the mystery and the moral. If we roll the dice and neither one of them is greater than 3, we're going to make a thread. If they're not tied, that thread is a moral. And what that means is you go ahead and do whatever you're going to do, but it will have an unintended consequence that you're going to have to write a little lesson about. And this lesson is something that your rogue may learn. It's something that your rogue may not learn. It may absolutely refuse to learn or keep doing over and over again. But you'll write that down in our thread document, which we've shared there. If you roll the dice, and anytime you roll the dice and it's a tie, you get what's called the stymie, and that means you're unable to do what you were just about to do. The overtone flips when that happens, and that represents an escalation in the story, and that'll make more sense as we play. But if you roll a tie that is of 3 or less, then that stymie, the thing that prevents you from doing whatever you were trying to do, has to be of supernatural or unknown origin. And then you're going to write a little question about it, because this is something mysterious has happened that's prevented you from slaying the mummy or whatever you're attempting to do at that point. And we'll deal more with those when the dice tell us to deal more with them. The one thread that I want to bring to your attention now, and we'll just talk about, is called the motif, and this is the single most important part of the game, particularly with what we're doing right now. The motif is our timing mechanism. In the game, when you hear somebody else say something that sounds like sword and sorcery, like the heart of sword and sorcery to you, you want to recognize that by going over to our threads and write it down in the motif. And if you look on that thread document, we have 3 different motifs, first, second, and third. and each motif has 3 arrows or bullet points after it. And what's going to happen is we're going to just, if I start describing a altar drenched in serpents, and you're like, yeah, that's sword and sorcery, you just go in there and you type in altar drenched in serpents, and that's great. When we fill 3 in, get 3 of those items on the first motif, we'll move on to the second motif. And the rule for the second motif is that one of those items has to echo something that's in the previous 3. So we, as we're telling our story, want to pay attention to the motif and reintroduce certain elements, right? So I could say you start wrestling with a giant serpent at some point, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that echoes the serpent-drenched altar. Let's write down giant serpent. And so one from the second motif must do that. And then when we get to the third motif, one in the third motif must echo something from either of the first 2. So we can go again, and this time you come across another altar that's built out of human skulls, and you're like, oh, that echoes the altar in a different way. That's great. When we have 3 elements in each motif, so we have 9 elements in total, we are entering the end game. So we want to keep an eye on that. We want to hit those as hard and fast as we can, so that we make sure that we're running along at a reasonable rate. And then when we get to that last one, we'll continue playing the game like we normally have, but now we'll have the opportunity to reincorporate these threads, right? Then it may be a motif, it may be a mystery, it may be a moral. When we get there, I'll talk about what that means, but it's essentially, in your narration, you can take say, the lesson you learned in a moral and prove that your rogue has learned it, or prove that your rogue will never learn it, or have your rogue teach it to somebody else, or something like that. Or you can take elements off of motifs and combine them and synthesize something new. As each of us, each of you reincorporate one of those threads, 2 of you will do that. One, when you reincorporate a thread, you are no longer able to receive the dice in the game, so you'll no longer be able to participate by rolling, though your character's still in it. But that's fine, because the game's almost over, because once 2 of you reincorporate it, we're done with the game. And if it turns out that the story hasn't quite reached its end, that we need an epilogue of some sort, then the third person who didn't reincorporate gets to roll the dice one last time and do a little epilogue. And that's a quick overview of how it goes. I talked for quite a bit more than I thought I was going to. I apologize, but are we ready to rock with this? All right.
Yep.
I came up with my inevitable foe.
Oh, yes.
Which is the unknown dew. When the maw has claimed the appropriate number of foes to fulfill the destiny of the unknown dew, the Reaper of Souls comes to claim it, as well as the soul of yet one more.
Nice.
It's going to be Brennan's character. Wait, no. Oh, wait. Wrong kind of game.
Excellent. All right. So, if we're ready to jump into it, we'll just jump right into it.
Yep.
All right. So, get comfortable here. I'm going to go ahead and roll for our first overtone. Every time I start a phase, what's that?
I said sweet.
Oh, good. Every time I start a phase, I start with the overtone. So here we go. 5 and 4. Wait, is that showing up 5 and 4 for you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So we are glum. Oh, that's good. I have glum written down. All right. So as the overplayer, I am allowed to tell you where you are, why you're there, what you're doing there, what's happening. I get to completely railroad this moment here. And I'm going to start with a glum perilous phase. And I think it's nighttime. I think that the 3 of you have been out hunting ancient devices, and which can be, it's the far-flung post-apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic future. So these things may be super science, they may be magic. It doesn't matter. They're all pretty much the same. And you've just come out of a city that had been swallowed up by the earth long ago, and you are camping after spending many, many days underground, digging through all of this and finding that it has been picked over probably for centuries. There was nothing left. The lead that you received has sent you on pretty much a wild goose chase. Your supplies are running low. You're out on the wastelands above, out past this sort of the crater that leads to the cave entrance that leads to this underground city. And so you're out under the stars. You've taken some building materials from inside the city and brought it out to build a campfire, which smells horrendous, but it'll at least keep you warm in this cold night. And you've long since run out of your supplies, and it's even a moonless night. I'm going to actually. So one of the things I do in each phase, I have to create what's called a thunder. And the thunder is a ominous threat. It's something that's not necessarily going to. It's not something you have to necessarily deal with at the moment, but you may have to deal with in the future. We don't know. And if we were playing at the table, when I create the thunder, I would pick up the dice to indicate that I've done that. I'm going to pick up the dice to say that this horrible scent that is coming out of your campfire is the thunder, right? So you know that is in some way some sort of threat, but it's not defined yet. But I'm going to then come to you and give you the storm, which is that there are there's these beasts, these half jackal, half scorpion beasts, these horrible dog beasts with stinger tails that are, you can see their eyes glowing as they reflect the firelight as they're circling around your camp. And I'm going to start by giving the dice to Chris. So again, in the perilous phase, I will bring the storm, and I will threaten you with whatever is coming on, and you just roll the dice when you want to interrupt me. The rest of you should feel free to tell us what your rogues are doing. Like, you shouldn't just sit there and let it happen. You just can't overcome or succumb to it without rolling the dice.
So let me just recap that. So you can sort of like narrate the scene, and we chip in with our own bits.
Right.
But I at a certain point, I can pick up the dice, and that will sort of like shift the scene on.
Right. So what will happen is I will probably reach a point in what I'm narrating where you're like, I can't let this go on any farther. And you'll say, I'm rolling the dice, and I will shut up at that moment. And then you'll be able to come in and take over narration for a brief period.
Got ya.
All right. So, yeah, the camp is set up. The fire, this fire is producing more smoke than it is actual light or warmth. But in fact, the light, the fire coming out of it is green. And it's reflected in the eyes of these beasts, which you're familiar with. They're not things that you want to deal with. You know that these are scavengers of the wastelands. That they're the reasons why if you bring horses or whatever with you, you try and hide them before going underground. And they're yipping just outside the. No, they should be yipping just outside of the circle, but they're not. They're quiet, and they're like a subdued growling coming from them. And there are many pairs of eyes, and in a front, there's several of them that are now kind of creeping towards you, and you realize that there's one set of eyes that's at least, like, these are about, a couple feet off the ground normally, but this one's at least a yard or more off the ground. And as it steps into the green firelight, this thing is more the size of a large wolf than it is the usual size of these scorpion jackals.
Great.
Is there anything that you guys are doing at the moment?
Artifacts immediately. I changed her name. Artifacts leaps up and starts assembling some of the materials they brought out to burn to produce more fire. She starts like putting them together, swiping tools off of the Evertool to quickly like form some kind of rudimentary crossbow device. But things aren't working right. Like they're snapping as she's doing it. She's like cursing, "Damn it!" And like she's trying to find something to make it all work, but it's not. This is like, I don't have the good things to work with.
Yeah. So I think that the big one, as it's coming forward now, you can see the arch way off of its back. It's got that scorpion tail, and it's watching you, almost curiously watching Artie, but kind of circling around. And the others are becoming more and more aggressive. They're not aggressive. Like they probably would have been a little fearful at first, but they're seeing that this large dog is not afraid, so they're starting to close into, and they're starting to yip a little bit, and horrible poisonous ichor comes off that tail and drips onto the.
I sort of put together sort of little enchantment and sort of throw a handful of sort of sparkly dust which sort of goes a modest bang, sort of thing which normally just sends these creatures scattering away, and do this and bang, and then they all just sit there and look at me.
Yeah.
And I turn to Pug and say, "I think these are yours to deal with."
So you haven't rolled the dice yet, right?
I haven't.
Okay, good. So, all right, good. Does Pug do anything at this moment, or Puck? I mean,
Low leaves of whatever gods you pray to answered it. Looks like our food has been delivered to us. And then he stands and starts.
Excellent.
Well, they're probably only one.
I'm getting a little bit of break-up on your audio. You're sort of dropping in and out a little bit, Rich.
Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem.
But you stand up and you start swinging that the mace. Yeah. I think the large one then moves around so that that Puck is on the other side of Artie, so that this large one keeps Artie between Puck and himself, and then he leaps, jumps and tries to grab Artie around the throat with his jaws. And I think you fall to the ground in a tangled mess. So the jaws are definitely dangerous, obviously, but the larger danger here is clearly this stinger tail.
Yeah.
And now you've got this dog on top of you. Do you wrestle with it? What do you do here?
So it leaps on me, and I'm focusing on right now trying to keep its mouth away from my throat with my hands while shifting every time that tail comes darting down to strike at me. But it's getting closer and closer, and its heavy weight is atop me and its breath is in my face, and I'm like, little help.
I think when you call out at that moment, the two smaller ones actually have run in and grabbed your ankles, right? So their teeth are digging into your flesh and starting to pull you along with this larger one on top. And
I think it's time I picked up the dice.
All right,
I think so too.
Give it a roll.
Yeah. It's as tempting as it is to watch Brendan get eaten.
I do not appreciate it.
Okay, so what do I roll 2d6, do I?
Yes.
Okay, my roll is a 4 and a 1.
So you're glum as well.
Excellent. So I now sort of take over the narration for a little bit.
Right. So the way this works is that you have the power to narrate whatever happens, whatever your character does. You can include other characters as long as their players are okay with it. They can refuse, in case it just doesn't seem right for their character or whatever. And you're perfectly welcome to say what happens, like how your actions affect any other character in the story that's not run by another rogue player. So you could say what happens to these scorpion jackals based on what you do, or jackal scorpions, I forget whatever I call them, and or you can leave that up to me. That choice is yours. So you can say, this is what I do, and you tell me what happens, or you could say, this is what I do, and this is how it affects them.
And the glum, joyful aspect, I reflect that in my description.
Yeah, you want to pick some aspect of the broader glum tone, and you just want to make sure that you hit it in your description of what's happening.
Okay. Yeah, as those sort of two little ones are coming in just to, add to Artie's problem. I let loose a fireball. A small ball of fire shoots out of my hand at sort of the nearest one of these creatures threatening Artie. But it's sort of like it strikes this creature, but it just sort of fizzles. Rather than sort of this creature being turned into a boiling ball of flame, it's just the magic sort of like sizzles out and sort of discharges earth into the ground, and sort of and I'm sort of like going, that's never happened before, and sort of I'm sort of looking around, because without my magic I really am in trouble.
All right. And so is that the extent of your narration?
Yes, I think I'll take it there, yeah.
So then what happens is now, again, if we're at the table, you just pick the dice up and you hold on to them. You cannot roll the dice again until somebody else rolls them, but you can wait as long as you want before you hand the dice over to someone else. And while you're waiting, I will be bringing more and more danger to everyone else. The other thing that you're allowed to do at this point is you can say, I think that's good, we're done with this phase. But I think for now, it's probably best to let everyone have a little chance of doing something in the perilous phase, just so we all get kind of into a groove here, if that's all right.
Yeah. I mean, what I was thinking, I was thinking I'd hand over the dice pretty quickly to Brendan, just so that we can get into the flow of the game, if nothing else.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. All right.
Okay, so I'll do that straight away, really. No, my magic!
Yeah,
sorry, Artie, you're on your own.
All right, so Brenda, you can roll at any time, but I will continue with the storm.
Sure.
I think, so that this magic fizzles out. You've fully expected it to you've relied upon these other rogues to save you time and time again, and you're like, yeah, no, this is, Will's got it, no problem. So you're just for just the slightest sliver of a heartbeat, you let your guard down.
Yeah.
And I think one of the smaller jackal scorpions hits and pierces your calf with the
stinger.
It's the stinger,
Yeah.
and it's like, we're glum, right? So it's like ice, like shooting up through all your veins, and you can feel your muscles seizing up, which is slowing you down. And to the point where the larger one knows when it has prey that has been poisoned, and so it just drops you onto the ground. It doesn't care anymore, and it turns, its jaws slavering as it looks towards Puck, who is just on the other side of you.
Okay. I'm gonna roll.
All right.
Nice. Oh no!
Oh, great! All right.
No.
So this is a stymie, and what that means is that whatever Artie was attempting to do, Artie will not be able to do.
That was not what I wanted.
It means the overtone is now jovial, and that is going to be represented in some sort of escalation. So you can go ahead and say what happened and how you failed to accomplish whatever you were trying to do, and you can even make it an escalation if you want, but I have sort of veto power. I can decide
Sure.
if I can't say what you didn't happen, but I can say that's not enough yet. Let's add this.
Totally. So I'm like, as the ice is rushing up my body and I'm feeling my muscles seize, I'm like, that's it. And I reach out my hand and I like twist it just that way that I know how to twist it so that it plunges through the world, and like it looks as if my forearm from my elbow up disappears as I plunge it into the always clock. And I start twisting and adjusting things, like, and I can just do this by touch, trying to find the right things that I can just loosen it just a little bit and make these jackal scorpions vanish or go away or something. Just make the poison like rush out of my body. I'm just trying to find the thing to fix it. And as I'm clambering around and tweaking it, suddenly there's this burst of light that comes from the jackals as I twist it the wrong way. And so now the jackals have grown in size like 3 or 4-fold, and they're now enormous. I immediately just pull my hand back out of the always clock. And I'm like, and I'm not doing that again.
Can I just say, as a motif, we can pick things up at any point, can't we?
Yes. The only rule is that it can't be something that you said.
Yeah, I want to pick up this motif of a small thing bigger and bigger. You know,
Sure.
Monsters are always bigger versions of what became before.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah. So go ahead and just plug that into that first element there. That's great. And get us rolling on this motif. That seems like a wonderful escalation to me.
Yeah.
So, do you pick up the dice then? Are you done with your part of the narration?
Yeah. So I'm like trying desperately to crawl away from the now massive beasts, as the poison, I don't think I even got rid of it. I think the poison is still causing my muscles to seize up.
All right. And you can hand those dice over whenever you want, but
Sure.
I will continue with this storm. I think that bigger jackal, now his eyes stand at the height of a human, like this is a big, yeah, like when it moves, like now it moves more bear-like than it does dog-like, and it is turned directly at Puck, and it just opens its mouth and lets out, rather than the jackal-like yipping, it just lets out this long roar, which is echoed throughout this circle of now wolf size or larger jackal scorpions. That and when he does that, the ones that have Artie's legs have dragged Artie out of the firelight and into the shadow, and this green firelight is reflecting off of the face of this big one, and it just gets up on its hind legs and reaches over. And so what is Puck doing right now? Puck has the mace. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not sure how good my audio sounds, but he's going to attempt to swat it aside and do what he can to help out Artie.
All right. So you don't have the dice, so you can slip and struggle with it, which is fine. I think
I'll hand you the dice.
Oh, now you have the dice, so you can roll at any time. You take a swat at it. I think it hits it like it's a good solid hit, but the thing is so big now that it just stumbles off to one side and lands back on all fours and turns back to you with its head down and charges into you and hits you with its head to knock you off your feet. Landing on the ground, what do you do at that point? Do you just...
Oh, well, probably grab the shaft of the mace, plunge it into the ground, and try to leap back up. And I guess at this point it would probably be smart to roll the dice. So
if you want to, go for it.
Chris, could you roll for me, please?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just pressed the wrong button. Okay, so 2 dice. Here we go. I'm rolling for Rich, and I got a 4 and a 5.
Oh, all right. So you're glum, while the rest of it is jovial.
Still don't get what that means.
Okay.
Does that mean I failed? Or
No. It's however you want to interpret it. You're more than welcome to fail.
They keep failing, and I'm not sure if that meant I'm supposed to fail.
No, it's open to your interpretation. So you're allowed to fail if you want, but you can decide that in either a quiet or calm or introspective or dark way to overcome it. That's perfectly fine too. Like that's up to you. So if you think about like the way your character would behave in this broader umbrella of glum. And also, I should point out that this is the tone of your narration, and it does not necessarily have to mean your character, right? So we have, like in movies, there are oftentimes scenes where lots of the characters are angry and shouting at each other, but the sound is muted and it's in slow-mo and it's got eerie music over the top. Like if you want to do something where you have your character acting aggressively or loudly or passionately, but hitting the glum notes in that's perfectly fine too.
All right. You had mentioned before that it was a moonless night.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you meant more figuratively, but you mentioned that there was a thunder. What if perhaps lightning strikes happened near, and the crack of the thunder and the lightning was sufficient enough to scare the jackals away? No?
Sure. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. So that like lightning strike tends to be loud, but I think like if you want to narrate some bit of it, like if they're gone, then the howling is gone or something like that. That's perfectly fine too, to hit that glum note.
Could the lightning strike sort of illuminate something which introduces the glum note, something unseen in the shadows or something else, something like that?
Sure. That sounds cool.
All right. Okay, so you chase them off. Now you have the choice to either hold on to the dice and I will come back and still try and bring things, or you can end the phase right here. And we could start up a new phase if you'd like. The choice is up to you.
Do we have to note enough of the motifs, or we can move to another phase?
Yeah, we can switch to phases whenever we want. The only thing the motif measures is how long it takes before we get to the end game.
Okay. Then if we could, let's move to another phase.
All right.
Let's try another.
Excellent. So we end that phase. Then I get to start the next one. I start by rolling the overtone. Let me get up to the dice here. Oh, I got to clear the dice out. That's what I got to do. Oh, all right. So I rolled a tie. For me, I don't get stymied or I don't get any threads because I'm the overplayer. The tie just means it's the opposite of the previous one, which is glum. Now, the previous one was jovial, so now we're glum again. Or the tone was overtone was most recently jovial. Now it's glum. We're going to do a discovery phase. So the lightning hit, scattered these strange creatures, these beasts, and I think that at the moment, Artie is completely missing. It has been dragged off, and that. Okay, I'm going to give you a thunder again. So this thunder is the something ominous that you may have to deal with, but you don't necessarily have to deal with it. Is the Rich, was the lightning a result of it was just something that had happened at that moment, or was that involved in the that mace? What did you call the mace there? The threshing maw.
I was actually thinking that perhaps the lightning had more to do with the stymied, because wasn't there supposed to be something supernatural? So perhaps it could have been something that Artie did not even realize she had pulled forth.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, because there's lots of weird magic stuff going on at that moment. Okay. Yeah, because the change in time. So the thunder then in this phase is I think the thunder is easy that Artie is missing, completely missing, that has been separated from the group, like because this lightning hit and illuminated enough of the landscape, you saw these jackals running off. You should have seen Artie somewhere, and did not. I'm going to then hand the dice to Chris, and we're doing a discovery phase. So the way this works is that you roll the dice immediately, unlike the perilous phase. You're not waiting for me or anything, and you're going to reveal something about the world, and this can be something on the big scale, like you'd be like, oh, blah blah blah, or it might be something smaller, or you can literally be discovering something. You could be like uncovering a
clue.
Yeah, or something like that. And then you say what that is, and whether or not, how your character conveys that to, at this point, Puck is the only one nearby. And then you get to ask me a question about it. And this question has to be a leading question. And what I mean by that is that specifically, you can't ask me a yes or no question about it, because almost always yes or no questions have a very obvious answer. So.
Okay, I want the canny cognition trait or whatever. Does this come into play at this point?
You can. What that trick does is you can say this next phase has to be a discovery phase, and I get to use this. But since we're already doing a discovery phase, you're more than welcome to use that if you want.
Right. Okay. Well, let's roll the dice and see what they say first of all.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. 2 dice, and a 2 and a 1.
Excellent. So. You discover something, and then I will, in my answer to your question, give you some horrible consequence for whatever it is that you're about to discover, and we'll write a lesson about it. So don't worry about the consequence. That's my job. So just go ahead and make your discovery.
Okay, and we're glum, aren't we?
You are, yes. Yeah, your first die is glum.
Yeah. Okay. Sort of with all the creatures suddenly scattered, sort of look around and look at Puck and don't look at Artie, who isn't there, and sort of growing realization that something terrible has happened, because Artie doesn't disappear like this, and big as those creatures were, they wouldn't be able to drag her off very easily, and we should be able to see them. So something is definitely afoot here. So I think I will get out my gem of the Jacobites. It's a true magic. This magic has never failed me, unlike my unreliable magic, which is quite clearly rubbish. So I'm gonna sort of hold up the gem, so it can split light and reveal its secret. But I head down and bend and shut my eyes and think forth of my cultural people, the Sisters of the Staircase and the guardians of our magical culture. So I've got my eyes shut and I can't actually see what I'm revealing.
So what are you revealing? Because you get to say that. You get.
Oh, I get to say. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. I think what I get to reveal is that there is good question. There is a dagger lying on the ground, not far from the campfire, but it's not mine, and it's not Puck's, and it's not Artie's, and it wasn't there not very long ago. So yes, that's what it is, an unknown dagger.
Excellent. And then you get to ask me a question about it.
What does it look like?
Oh, all right. Yeah. All right. And what I want to do is I want to give you an unintended consequence while I'm doing this, which will be an interesting feat, which I can do. I think that. All right, so we're going to play a little bit with dramatic irony here. The dagger is entirely What's my? I'm glum. All right. Even in the brilliant light of the Jacobite, it's hard to see. It's almost as if it's sitting in shadow, despite being straight on the ground and not in shadow. And it is a long blade, like a punching, like rather than a slashing pointed blade, and the hilt is formed with teeth pointing back at the hand. And I think that it actually, like, you look at it and you feel utterly compelled to pick it up. And you like, and I'm going to make that your. So the consequence is that you have to pick this dagger up. And so under moral, if you look down on our thread there, you should write a lesson about that. And I mean, it's obvious that this dagger is not intending to turn all of this into a lovely time for you.
So the moral is what I learned by picking up this dagger, or
yeah. So you want to be like, it just like the sort of like lesson, the more you know, kind of post. You know, if afterwards, if something horrible happened with the dagger, whatever, you like, you want to keep it a little bit on the, in this case, rather than specific, you want to keep it a little bit vague because you want to be able to interpret it. So it could be something like, you know, don't pick up somebody else's trash, or it could be, you know, so along those lines.
How about something like not everything is what it appears?
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, that'll work.
Like I'm adding that to the doc.
Yeah. All right, and then what happens next then is that I decide whether or not the phase ends, and I think we're going to go at least for one more person. So you get to decide who to hand the dice to, and it's perfectly fine whether it goes to Puck or Artie. That doesn't matter, but they roll right away when they do it.
Okay. So I just have to finish up. I picked up this dagger. This is sort of like where my part of this. Yeah, I grabbed this dagger. I think we'll send it over to Puck because something horrible is about to happen, and I want to know what it is.
All right. So you probably have to roll for Rich again, I think.
Oh right, yes. Yeah. Let me clear my dice. Okay, Rich, you get a 6 and a 4.
Oh. So that's glum again. We're an awfully glum crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can discover everything. It can follow along what we're doing now, or it may be something that your character knows about the beast that you just chased off, or whatever. Like you don't. There's no imperative to pick up exactly where we left off. All we know now is that Will has picked up this dagger.
And just to say it, I added picking up a cursed dagger as a second element to the first motif.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay. So we know that Artie is gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's picked up a dagger that has no connection to anyone, but has some teeth that comes back towards his hand, and Willow had to pick it up. But we can kick ahead if we want to kind of jump past this glumly.
Yeah.
Brendan, any help, guys? I really don't. I don't have any ideas off the top of my head here.
Well, sure. So the issue at stake right now is that I'm missing, and we don't friggin' know where I am. So, like, you could apply your knowledge of, say, the jackal scorpions. Where would they have taken me? Like, maybe you could discover their burrow nearby. Maybe that's something you could hunt for.
So
Or
perhaps the Glumly would be we kind of skip ahead a little bit to the Willow with her fascinating dagger, and Puck leading the way as they skulk towards the lair of the jackal scorpions.
Nice. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's you get to ask me a question then, so you can ask me something about the lair or something related to this. The only thing that it can't be is a yes or no question. So.
And so this is just to make sure I understand. This is you, Puck, and Will. Like Will is still looking at her dagger greedily and covetously, I imagine. But it's like you're stalking there stealthily and quietly, like hunting essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we're following the trail of the jackals.
Sure.
Towards
wherever the hell they took me.
Yeah, I mean, it's very glum because we're all convinced you're dead.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the faith you have in me.
Well, I'm sorry, all my thought processes are immediate to what's going on, not an authorial, but more of a
Sure.
what's the best way in?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question.
Sure.
Yeah. So, well, you've dealt with these jackal scorpions. Obviously, not ones of this size. That like all things have changed now that Artie has messed with time and reality, as Artie is wont to do. But you know that the best way into into their den is you know that in order to be able to get into the den undetected without being like sort of attacked right at the chokehold there, is that you're going to have to cover yourself with their scent. So you're going to have to wait for one of them to come out of the den and kill it, or somehow use it to get you in. So I'm going to actually end the phase there because I think we got a good straightforward. We'll go straight into a rogue phase. So again, when I start a phase, I roll for the overtone. That's glum. Of course it's glum. That's how this is going. All right, so I do not need to change that. All right, we're good. All right, so this is going to be a rogue's phase. Again, I have to provide a thunder. I think the thunder right now is that Artie is consciousness is coming into like kind of welling up into consciousness here, Artie. The room around you is completely dark. You can hear these animals, but there's no light source whatever, even for their eyes to reflect. And you can't move because you're the poison is running through your veins.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call that the thunder. I think everyone knows that they enjoy to eat their prey live. So that's a horrible thing that's going to happen. All right, and as the way the rogue phase works is that I then make a demand of someone. In this case, I am going to make a demand. I'm going to come back at Puck. I'm going to actually show us how you trap one of the stray jackal scorpions so that you can get its scent. So you just roll the dice right away, which in this case is like Chris roll for you.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't Oklahoma.
Double three.
All right. Well, then you failed to do it. But we're jovial now, so that's good. And you can tell us how this goes wrong, and it can go wrong any way you prefer. But there'll be a mystery about why it's going wrong. But that's no problem at all. These things have been messed with by Artie's magic. So they're obviously not the jackal scorpions that you're used to. So
yeah, I kind of imagine this as hiding in some scrub brush as one comes out to the jackals. What the hell is this? So I made Willow try to make the sound of an ailing jackal. She really is not very good. So one of them came out, and then Puck leapt out towards it, but ran away. Sure. The kid runs away, yelping, and Puck tries to threshing maw it, but fails.
Right. It's faster than they normally are. Is that the?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
that works. All right. So yeah, like I imagine that this is a thing that you've done in the past, even just to hunt for food. So because it's a mystery, even if we know kind of on our head what the answer to the question is, you're going to want to write a question in that thread thing. Or you can, I don't know how easy it is for you to write something into one of these with your technical setup here, so you can narrate it to us so we can try and write it in. But just a question about why these jackals are different or something like that.
What has already undone?
That's good.
Or done to cause this?
I think undone. I like the idea he's undone something and made the situation worse.
Sure.
Excellent. And then I can go ahead and type that in for you.
Thank you.
Wow. And then so you get to then make a demand of someone else. So you could say, show us how you blah blah blah, and it can be of either character, and it can be yeah. So and you'll hand the dice to them.
Artie, how did you get out?
Excellent.
Just as a side note, just to say this quickly, because somebody posted and said they think our dice roller app might be sorting the dice high to low, which is why we keep getting glum. But I just tested. I rolled it a whole ton of times. No, it's just giving us that because I got like a 2 and a 5, so it's possible. It's just not happening. All right, so I roll immediately, right?
Yep.
Ah, there it is. All right.
So you're jovial.
Yes. So yeah, right. I was made by the cosmogony, and as to tend the always clock, and I abandoned my post, but I have fail-safes designed to keep me functional and keep me active, but I don't like using them, right? Because they tie me back to the thing that made me, and basically my boss or my parent who's gonna make me do my job again. So I can't move, and I imagine there's this jackal scorpion maybe who's like looking at me with slavering, dripping drool, and I close my eyes, and when I open them again, just this brilliant blue-white light comes pouring out of my eyes as the poison is flushed from my blood, which it's not even blood anymore. And I stand up. I just rise up and my eyes are I can see the whole nature of the den that I'm in now. I can see the walls, and I just advance towards the jackal in front of me. And when it's like slavers and its tail comes darting towards me, I grab the tail and I just rip it off. And then I grab its jaw and I just rip it off. And I mean, I stalk my way through the den, like looking for the way out, just snapping the necks of every jackal creature I encounter, all the while knowing that I am like summoning the gaze of not just the cosmogony, but other things that look for this kind of power right down upon me. I'm like a giant lighthouse right now for that kind of shit. Yeah. Does that work? Does that cover it?
Yeah, that's good. So the way that this phase ends is that whoever just rolled it can decide to end the phase or continue. Or I'm sorry. Sorry, it's the rogue's phase. So this phase ends after you roll. Anyone can say, "Oh, we're done with the phase," or if nobody says it, then you continue and make a demand. I'm not saying that. I'm just putting that out there.
Sure.
I think it'd be cool if we continue with a little bit more.
Sure.
I've just gone for the third motif. which is wholesale slaughter.
Yes.
You know, him walking through the, just slaughtering all these poor innocent creatures who are just wanting some lunch.
They were in my way. That's how it works. All right, so I'm gonna give the dice. Can I you tell me if I can do this? But I want to give the dice to Will. I want to give the dice to Chris, and I want to ask you to show me how the dagger makes you betray us.
Oh, you absolutely can do that.
All right.
Oh, that's a good one. Right, do I need to roll some dice here, don't I? So.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, roll 2 dice.
All right, so this is a stymie and a mystery, so that means that we're glum again. The overtone is glum. And what was the exact demand again?
Show me how the dagger makes you betray us. Does that work?
Yes, so you can take any part of that and say that fails to happen in whatever way. But it'll be, this won't be too particularly hard since there's a ton of magic flying around right now, but it will be of some supernatural or unknown source. We'll have to write a mystery about it.
Okay. Yes, so myself and Puck are outside the lair, failing miserably to catch one of these creatures when we hear the distinct sounds of slaughter coming from inside, and we know that means Artie. So we've given up on the whole subtlety approach, and and Puck's charging in, and there's probably a whole load of these creatures scurrying out away from Artie as we're charging in, and Puck's hacking and slashing his way through the crowd, and so he's in front of me, and then I'm sort of coming up behind him, my hands sort of slowly goes down to the dagger, and the sound's very muted. It's sort of like you see the blood splattering and bits of scorpion jackal splattering up the walls, but it's all very silent. You see the dagger come up, and just as I'm about to strike, whatever or whoever the creator of Artie is turns up, and everything changes.
Excellent. So you get to write a question in one of the mysteries there about it.
Mystery is, well, it's got to be who is Artie's maker.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And if anyone wants to end the phase, we can end it now, or you can continue and make a demand of someone else.
No. I think ending it here and trying dealing with Artie's maker and whatever's another type of phase would be good.
Excellent. All right. So I get the dice back, and I get to roll to start a new phase. What do we get here? Oh, did it roll?
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, I just got to learn how to. All right. So for me, that means it's going to be a jovial because we just got done with glum. There we go. What kind of phase do I want to do now? All right. All right, so like I mentioned before, we can follow one phase with the exact same kind of phase. We're going to do another rogues phase, and one of the reasons to do this is because I have this setup that I go through at the beginning of each phase, and it allows me to go through the setup again. I think as I'm gonna set it up right where the last one left off. The Artie's maker has shown up, and as Artie is coming out of the cave, you guys are heading in towards the cave. Artie gets closer and closer to the maker, and I'm picking up the dice. This is the thunder here, and as that's happening, the sun is moving through the sky backwards at a rate that is completely. I mean, it's bizarre that it's going backwards to begin with, but that it's like kind of coursing through the sky, and it's getting faster as Artie is getting closer to Artie's maker. And everyone's feeling very, very queasy and nauseous. And I want to see. I'm going to make a demand to someone here. I'm going to hand the dice to Artie and show us how you flee from your maker. Oh.
Very quickly. Running. Yes, so
So you roll the dice first.
oh yeah, sorry, that's right. Duh. Stupid. Here we go. Ah!
Okay, so you don't. Wow, there's a lot of
Yes, that is the lesson. All right. So my tone is also now glum, right? And I get
yeah.
and I'm stymied by mystery, which gosh, I wonder.
Yeah, the overtone is now glum because of that.
Yeah. So okay, so I come upon my creator and like so my creator instantly takes a form that it has often used to try and reason or speak with someone in a mortal capacity. So like the sense of power suddenly becomes contained in a figure which is smooth, no distinguishing features. Like it looks human, but it's not at all defined really. I mean, I'm thinking vaguely of like if you've ever seen Community, the human being, the mascot, something like that. Like, and it's kind of creepy for being just this poorly defined, vague sense of humanity, and it just reaches out a hand for me, and immediately I pull out a dagger and I just chop off the hand, and I just try to start running, and I just blow past Puck and Will, and I'm like, just run, just fucking run, and I'm just dashing out into the wastes, and then suddenly there he is again, right in front of me, and I'm like, no, and I like stab him with the dagger, and I leave it in his stomach, and I go running in another direction, and there he is again. I'm like, gah! So wherever I run, there's one standing until suddenly there's a giant circle of them all around me, like closing in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I wrote down poorly defined, vague sense of humanity in the motif. That's a lovely echo of like the sort of indescribable Lovecraftian kind of thing there.
Defined vague sense.
Yes.
Nice. All right, and I get to do a mystery, right?
Yes.
So I will do the mystery of let's see. I was stopped by this power. Okay. What rules is the cosmogony breaking in coming for Artie? Yeah. There we go. All right.
Now you can make a demand to say.
I
hadn't mentioned this yet, but it's and not that I'm asking for it or anything, but you can make demands of the overplayer to tell you about the world or other characters in it.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm actually gonna make a demand of Puck. I'm gonna give the dice. I'm gonna give the dice to Puck, and I'm gonna make the demand. Show me how you make the cosmogony, or show me how you stand up to the cosmogony. Show me how you, stand up to the cosmogony. That's good. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the overtone?
We should roll right away. So here, I can roll for you real quick. You are jovial, sir.
Cool. I guess we will stick with. We have this multi-dimensional being that's surrounding.
Yep.
Artie.
Which right now it looks like just a bunch of weird, vaguely human figures. Yeah.
I think maybe the threshing maw will pull forth some of the energies of it so that it flees? Did that
Right?
make
I like
any
that.
sense there? So he plants the butt of the maul on the ground and shakes it until it spins around Puck's head. And I would imagine
Awesome.
that
Like, well, and so are you charging in with it? Are you just spinning it?
he's spinning it. That's one of the powers of the threshing maul. It summons negative energies from the blood-touched plane.
Right. What I'm just trying to ask is, like, are you staying back, or are you staying back, or are you charging in? Because if you're getting even close, I'm like, just stay away. Just don't do anything. I lost.
No, Artie. We still need you.
Right. Not we like you. Not we want to save you, but we need you. Great. Thanks. Feel loved.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Awesome.
And you can make a demand of someone else then, or we can end the phase.
Well, unfortunately, you're coming up on time, so maybe ending the phase would be good.
Sure. So what is our time constraint right now?
We have a panel coming up at 9 or so, so we probably need to wrap up, so we have a little bit of time in between this and the panel.
Sure.
So that's the only concern. So
Yeah.
20 minutes or so.
Okay, so let's. I think we can fly because I just added to the motif the negative energies of the blood touch plane because I can't.
Sure.
Wait, I think I wrote plane wrong. My apologies. And yeah, so we just need 4 more. Let's start a new phase. Just so I have it in my head here, you planted it and you spun it around, and this when you brought in the negative energies, this chased the. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. What is it again?
The cosmogony.
The cosmogony off.
Yeah, I think so, because it was a choice of claim Artie and potentially be drawn into the negative plane of existence and destroy
Okay, awesome.
some realities or no.
Nice.
All right. So I'm going to start up a new phase. I think I'm going to start a perilous phase. So let me go ahead and roll some dice here. Clear. 1, 2. Oh, good. We're jovial. Great. All right. I'm going to fast forward in time. So we've had our fun out on the wastelands, retrieving nothing but this mysterious dagger, and gone through a whole bunch of trouble, including possibly angering a cosmic entity. And after
Like good heroes.
after several days of travel beyond this, you've come across a inn on the edge of the wastelands. In fact, it's called the Inn on the Edge of the Wastelands, and it's actually a large building that there's lush green fields and in front of the building, and behind the building is wastelands, and that, where it intersects is a burnt out shell of the building. So the building itself is almost in 2 halves. And you've come to the inn, and you decided there's music playing. It's a very people are drinking, people are celebrating because this other group of a caravan that had made it through the wastelands, and they're all excited that they've made it to the other side. And during these celebrations, I think there are. I got to give you a thunder here. I think during the celebrations, you guys have been taking food and drink from what they've bought, and people are starting to notice. Yes. because you're out of money and
To be clear, actually, out of gratitude for Puck, right? I'm stealing most of the food for him.
all right.
So like Puck can just be sitting off somewhere, and I'm actually trying to sneak food away. Will did not help me.
So so they're starting to notice, and like the bigger, more aggressive members of this party are like, wait a minute, these are caravan crashers. We don't want this, that kind of thing. So that's your thunder. But now I'm going to get to the storm of the perilous phase, and the storm of the perilous phase is that really the only thing you've brought out of this wasteland to sell is this dagger, and you've gotten to the table, and there's like an old wizened lady who's in charge of the caravan, and she's got sacks full of gold coins and gems, and you've somehow managed, Will, to lay the dagger out on the table to offer it up for sale. And then I'm going to hand the dice to Artie. So this is the perilous phase again. So I'm going to come at you with the storm, and you can interrupt me whenever that
Sure.
you want.
Sure.
And the old lady looks at it, and she weighs out an obscene amount of money for what it is, like a big sack of just gems, and pours it out. And she says, "I offer you this, and you will thank me for taking it for even, you would thank me for taking it for but a single brass coin, but I will offer you this for it." At which point the dagger flings into Will's hand, and turns Will's body against Will's will, and who's nearest Will right now?
I'll be, sure.
All right, coming right after you, Artie. It's this pointy, punchy
Will, what are you doing? And I'm like
Yes.
trying to dodge to the side.
I'm trying to kill you. What does it look like I'm trying to do?
Why are you trying to kill me? Killing me won't mean you get more money.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm trying to kill you.
this is not good. Puck, can you just knock Will down? Like I'm still going back and forth and like trying to keep my distance, and then I get nicked on my shoulder by the dagger.
Nice.
I've never tried to do that on purpose.
I'd really appreciate it. Just one more assist.
Sure, I'll thwack Will on the back of the head with the butt of the mace.
Nice.
That shouldn't
Will-
damn her soul.
Will, do you go down?
No, I sort of, I've got no control. My other arm slams up and burst of magic. Finally it works and strikes Puck full in the chest, knocking him back into the old woman in all the gold, and everything just goes everywhere.
So, Rich has the chance. You're allowed to say, "Oh, that's not something that would happen to Puck," but if you're cool with it, we're cool with it, and we can let that go.
Yep, I'm cool with it. It's appropriate that Willows actually would have magic work at this point.
Excellent.
I want to roll.
All right, go for it. Yeah,
Yeah. So I got a 5 and a 4, which means it's glum.
you're glum. Yeah. Everyone else is jovial. There's money everywhere.
Yeah. People are running to go get it. There's a crowd of people. Totally. But then, yeah, after I see like Puck get blasted by the magic, like I'm like, oh shit, Puck is like way more badass than I am. That's not good for me. And so I'm like hyper focused now, and so I'm zoned in. There's just me and Will, clearly not in control of this dagger, and advancing towards me with the dagger out. And so then I'm like, Will, I'm sorry to do this. And then I grab Will's. I just reach out quickly and grab Will's wrists, and I reach out and grab Will's wrist with one hand, and with the other hand I reach into the always clock, and I make just a little tweak, and I like make Will's hand burst into flames so that the dagger goes flying out of it. And it's just a moment, just a quick flash of flame, no noise, no sound, just a single moment, and then there's Will's hand seared red as the dagger just drops to the ground.
Excellent. Do we want to add the dagger's been used quite a bit right there, which is great because we can echo the dagger from the first motif. So if anybody's got something that they liked from what was just narrated, drop that in the second motif there.
I was trying to you can never trust a cursed dagger.
Go figure.
Yeah, like betrayed by a cursed dagger. That's good. Mm-hmm. So do you want to end the phase there? Do you want to continue there, Brendan?
This is a perilous. Do I get to make that call?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you get to make that call.
Okay, cool. Is the peril defeated? Sure. I think that's fair. That the immediate threat of the dagger possessing Will is defeated for the moment because I scorched Will's hand.
All right.
Ow.
Then hand the dice back to me, and I will, metaphorically speaking, hand the dice back to me. Make a roll for the new overtone. It's glum. It's glum.
Go figure.
Lots of things have happened. Okay, so we go forward in time a little bit. You've had this wonderful brawl. You've knocked the dagger out of Will's hand, and now you are all three of you. So I'm gonna, like I said at the beginning of every phase, I'm allowed to say where you are, what's happening, why you're there, and all that, railroading you. So I'm putting you again, once again in the wastelands. You can see the inn on the edge of the wastelands from where you are. The caravan, the big guards of the caravan have you, each of you bound, and you're, on your knees in the wastelands. And the leader of the caravan guard is caressing the dagger at this point, and that's your thunder. It's clear that they're going to attempt to execute you here, but that's perfectly fine because it's a rogue phase. I'm going to make a demand. I'm going to make a demand of Puck. Show us how you free you and your companions from your bindings or your. Right. Should I roll for you? There we go.
Well, first, I think Puck will look up at the caravan guard and say, "You drive a hard bargain. We'll accept the gold for the dragger."
That's wonderful.
Then go ahead and roll some dice.
Yeah, you're jovial. Straight up jovial.
So the demand is, how do we break free?
How do you?
Why don't we
break
roll
us
this
free?
whole?
It's how do you break everyone free?
How do I break everyone free? I think it would be interesting if Puck were to make a very mighty effort to try to break free, but that was really just his attempt to draw enough focus and attention of the caravan guard so that Artie could draw forth from the Evertool and damn us all with her crazy, crazy, crazy reality magic.
That's great. So,
okay.
Yeah,
cool. So
you can even make a demand of Artie to see what that is.
I don't know if I want to see it. Every time we see it, her dad shows up.
He's not my dad, okay?
Her amorphous blob parent thing. Of many faces.
My real dad.
No, why don't you... I demand to know, Artie, what pocket dimension you slipped us through to get out of here.
Yeah, all right. Sure. So you're distracting them while I'm like twisting my hands around and reaching into the always clock, and I should roll the dice before I say anything more. I just remembered
yes, you
again.
should.
So That's a thing that I'll do. Oh, I got jovial.
Yay.
All right, sweet. Yeah, so I'm reaching my hands and twisting around as you're distracting, and then suddenly this giant rent in the world appears right behind me, and I'm like, it might be a little bigger than I expected. Run! And I just turn into the rent, and it's leading into this place that's full of thunder and lightning in the distance, and dark clouds constantly rumbling, and it's the land of I'm gonna go ahead and say it's the land of the infinite stairwell, attached to Willow's order. This is like the land of the stairwell. This is the land that Willow is terrified she's not going to be able to go to. So basically I'm passing us into Willow's heaven. And I'm like, that was not my intent. But guys, just run, and I just start running up the stairs. Even as I think spectral figures start forming on the stairs and in the dark clouds around us and rising up towards the stairs around us. I'm looking for a place where I can tear another way out. All right, so I'm gonna pass the dice to Willow then, and I'm gonna make the demand. Show us how you save us from your dead sisters.
Oh dear. Okay, and I've got a 2 and a 1, which let me guess makes me glum.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that does. I want to, before we go any further, I want to add to the motif real quick here, because I love the what was the name of the land of the staircase?
The infinite stair. Yeah, something like that is what I said.
Yes,
it's there. I don't even know what I said.
All right, and so here's the deal. We've got one more element to fill in on the motif before we can go into the end phase. Is there anything else that's been narrated that people like that they want to add? Because if that's the case, we can start the end phase now.
Sure.
The end phase.
So, I mean, there was plenty of good stuff there. I just want to make sure.
No, I think a final showdown on the staircase, infinite staircase. Yeah, that sounds good to me. So what was the demand again?
I want you to show us how you defend us, save us from your dead sisters.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think that alone would make a good motif, so I'm going to add that if that's...
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
What you can do now is when you narrate things, you get to incorporate stuff if you want, right? So you can take a moral and show us that you've learned the moral or that you'll never learn the moral. You can take a mystery and you can either answer the mystery or you can progress the mystery more by asking a new question about it. Or you can take one of the motifs that exists and take any two elements on that motif and create a new sort of combination, which should be pretty easy since you're already in the land of infinite stairwell and you're fighting your dead sister. So, like, that one is there if you need it. So, and because we're in the end phase, you no longer have to get a thread from rolling a 2 and a 1, which would normally be a lesson.
Right. Sorry. So it's lost that slightly. I put together, I draw on any of these elements we've got before to form the motifs.
Yes. So you would pick one of the motif cards, either the first, second, or third, and you can combine two elements from it to make something new, right? Like, so you could take. This is not something that I expect you to do, but like you could be like, negative energies and poorly defined vague sense of humanity and have a being of negative energy just show up or something like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can take one of the mysteries and either answer the mystery in your narration or kind of progress it. So if we had, you know, what has Artie undone, you could be like another question about it, or you can actually tell us what Artie has undone. And with the moral, you can just prove that you've learned the moral, or that you will never learn the moral.
Okay. Yes. We're sort of like, yeah, standing on the staircase, and run. We're running up this infinite staircase. There's sort of like these hordes of like ghostly figures are sort of coming up after us, and sort of like we're running, but no going nowhere. It's an infinite staircase, then sort of just and they're gaining us, and we're running, and they're gaining us, and we're sort of like we are definitely doomed. But then the staircase comes to an end. It has been broken. The magic from Artie's, when Artie tried to change something and it didn't work, and what he undid was whatever the magic which made this the infinite stairwell, and the stairwell ends and there's a doorway.
Nice,
yeah.
So I mean, that answers that mystery, doesn't it? And that we know what he's done.
What I undid is infinity.
Okay, so you've reincorporated, which means you can't get the dice anymore in this story. I mean, your character's still there, but that's fine. We can continue with the rogue phase if we want, and you can make a demand of someone else.
Sure.
And if they reincorporate, then we're done. Otherwise, probably the next person will.
Okay. I will. Yes, I'm gonna make a demand. I'm gonna roll this randomly because it could be interesting. 1 to 3, it's Rich. So it's Brendan. Artie, what's behind the door?
Okay. All right. Let's see. So I can pick 2 elements from a single motif and combine them to create a new one.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I'm just trying to think of a good one. Okay. So we arrive at the door, and for a moment, like, I pause because that's freaking freaky, and like the 3 of us, I think, stand before the door, but the ghosts close in from behind, and so I'm just like, no one's ever served by looking backwards, and I just quickly rip open the door and dash in, and I find it leads into this chamber. It looks like it's in a castle, right? And suddenly it's like a completely different environment now. And I haven't rolled the dice again. God damn it.
Yeah.
It's jovial. Yeah, that's good. Okay, because I was going to go glum. All right, so it's this enormous chamber, and it's got bright torches everywhere, and standing all throughout it are these enormous figures covered in armor and jagged spikes, and they're not moving, but all across every single wall is it's just covered in daggers identical to the one that Willow held before, and the giant armored figures immediately they just turn and they step toward us, and we realize that each of them is holding like essentially a sword that looks like those daggers grown larger, and the daggers begin to glow a blood red as they approach, and this uniform voice starts erupting from them and says, "You will become wielders as they come closer," and the daggers themselves start rising off of the walls. Yeah. So there we go. That was me. I was trying to do picking up a cursed dagger, and monsters get bigger and bigger.
That's great. Yeah, I think that works. So, 2 people have reincorporated. So, if we feel that this is a good point to end our story with this lovely cliffhanger or ominous thing, we can call it a night there. And if we were playing an ongoing game, you would be able to pick up some of these threads, and we could like do a campaign where we come back and try and figure out what happened after that, or
Sure.
Maybe go back in time to find out where the dagger came from, or that sort of thing. But yeah.
I think that's a great place to stop it. I mean, there's a real sort of like, you know, end of episode, you know, sort of cliffhanger. I like that. So right, we'll finish that game where I like proper rogues. I think we ran around, we didn't know what was happening. We got into troubles and tribulations. So yeah, it really felt like it got an old school proper swords and sorcery story. Thank you very much. That has been Swords Without Master. Now, tell us, Epi, where can you get it from?
If you go to www.worldswithoutmaster.com, and that'll lead you to the e-zine that it was published in, and it was published in issue 3. So if you want to specifically get that issue, go for issue 3.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to Epi for running a wonderful game and for writing a wonderful game. Thank you to Rich. Thank you to Brendan. That's it. We're back with a panel in probably about 20 minutes on how to create interesting characters. So until then, bye-bye.
Thanks, Epi.
Thanks. That was fun.